Welcome, everybody. It is January 19th, the third week of the reign of the #1 Georgia Bulldogs in NCAA football. All right, how about them dogs? Yeah. Today we're going to have a first beginning of the year invocation by Tish Tisherman and the four-way test by Alan Treadway.
Happy New Year. Well, I had this ready for our first meeting of the year, which didn't happen, and our second meeting of the year, which didn't happen. And so here's our first meeting of the year. And I would like for you all to help me plant a Rotary garden. In order to plant a Rotary garden, first we need 3 rows of peas: peace of mind, peace of heart, and peace of soul. And then we need to plant 4 rows of squash: squash gossip, squash indifference, squash grumbling, and squash selfishness. Then we need to plant 4 rows of lettuce. Let us be faithful, let us be kind, let us be patient, and let us really love one another. No garden is without turnips. Turn up for meetings, turn up for service, and turn up to help one another. And to conclude our garden, we must have time for each other, time for family, time for friends, and time for prayer. So with that, I say, let's build a Rotary garden. Amen.
Now, if you'll join me for the pledge. I pledge of allegiance, flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, Israel, liberty, and justice for all. And now for the four-way test. First, second, third, and fourth. Good afternoon, everyone. I have a hot mic. Hot mic?
You do?
Good. Okay. Can I get everybody's attention, please? Can I get everyone's attention, please? Happy New Year. And welcome to the January 19th meeting of the Brentwood Rotary Club. We do have a couple of guests that I'd like to introduce to you. First, Jay Cook is going to introduce his guest.
Thank you, Drew. Good afternoon and hello. Good to see all your wonderful faces once again. I do have a guest today. This is my girlfriend, TK. She is a hair extraordinaire. Her business is Top Royal Beauty, found her on Instagram and Facebook. And again, she's joining me today for the first time for a Rotary meeting. So I'll make her feel welcome and thank you very much.
Hey, TK.
Welcome, TK. We're glad that you're here. Our speaker has a guest, and I was going to ask Courtney if you would like to introduce your guest.
Loves having the attention put on her, but I will. This is my mother, Lena Carlton. She's just moved here about a year ago from Louisiana. She lives right in Brent Mead, so I thought she would like to come and possibly join the group. I think that would be great. We'll see. But thank you for having us.
Thank you both for being here. And welcome to Middle Tennessee. Finally, we have a guest that we are hopeful will be joining us as a member here in the next week or so. Jim Colvin, and Chief Hughes is going to introduce him.
Thank you. So many of you know, maybe some of you don't, but February the 25th of this year is my last working day. 36 years. Yeah. I'm gonna ride off into the sunset. I'm gonna sell clothes with Michael Barrett. If everybody asks me what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna be joining Michael. Not really. I'm gonna be on the farm riding horses, hopefully. So with that, I will be hopefully bringing Jim Colvin into the club. He's filled out his application, and I think that's all moving fairly well. Tom Carr is coming over to do an orientation here in the very near future. So a little bit about Jim. Jim is currently the captain over the patrol division, and he will become the assistant police chief when I retire on February the 28th. That'll be his effective date. Richard Hickey, who is in the morning club, the morning Rotary Club, will be the new chief of police. So I'm telling you, this department is going to be in great hands. I mean, I'm excited to see what wonderful things they're going to be able to do once they get me out of the way. Let these young guys, you know, with these fresh ideas take over and do amazing things. Jim is a superstar. He is one of our top-notch officers. His initiatives and his intellect and his competence and his leadership is off the chart. So you're going to really enjoy having him as a member of this club, and he's going to do wonderful things for the Brentwood Police Department. And there's no doubt in my mind that in a very short period of time, he will soon be the police chief too. So that's my plan. That's our plan. That's the succession plan, and I'm confident that probably in a matter of years that'll come to fruition. So y'all raise him right, okay? And don't ruin him, Michael. All right. Thanks, guys. No, that's no, absolutely. And where is Brian? He's probably watching, right? Absolutely not.
That is a prerequisite for the police chief. Jim, welcome, and we look forward to welcoming you as a member. Chief Hughes, what a privilege and honor it has been for you to be here as our police chief, and what an amazing job you've done, and thank you for your service to our community.
Thank you, Drew. Couldn't say it better. So today, we don't have any new members to introduce, but we will be introducing, I think, 3 coming up. So it's been a great start to the year, and keep them coming, y'all. This is awesome. We've got a Rotary minute before we do Happy Bucks real quick. Or maybe not. Maybe I could just talk to you about it. It's about makeups, y'all. I want you to be here, but you know what? With all the weird stuff that's been going on, it's been really tough to do that. Now, Linus, bless his sweetheart, he's here, and I will be here too. And if we're the only 2 people in the room, we will end up probably having some kind of meeting, who knows? But there are lots of ways if you're traveling, if you get caught by the ice. The main thing you can do is you can zoom in, but you can also do an e-club, which is you can look on the internet and look up e-clubs, and they have lots of different activities where you can do makeups. You can go to any other club, anywhere you are, anywhere in the world, and make up. Just get a note from their secretary saying you were there. There's so many things you can do, including watching a YouTube of this meeting. You know, if you can't make it live, at least you can watch the reruns, right? If you go to the district event, if you decide you want to go to Houston, which, by the way, if you want to, you better go ahead and sign up for it really quickly. But if you have the chance to have the United States host a Rotary International Convention, it's really worth going. So please, if you have the chance to do that, please try to sign up for that. And if you do makeups by way of a committee or any meeting, or if you volunteer at Waverly with another group or something like that, please let Donna know, because that's worth a makeup as well. And her email address is on the bottom here. So there are lots of ways that you can have 100% attendance. And it is definitely going to be kept up with starting now. I think we're at the point where we're going to beat this. We're going to always have COVID around regardless. And so we need to start living our lives, and here we are. All right. So here we go. Plenty of things to do here. And if you need a copy of this, I'll be more than happy to email that out to everybody to let you know the different ways that we can make up. All right. Happy Bucks from Sherry Cost. Now I want to tell y'all about Happy Bucks real quick before we have this. No, it's not about dogs. I'm not going to say anything about that. No, this is a much more important thing. Corey Hardwick's son, Lil Hank, one of our playground pals, is very ill due to COVID. He has been in intensive care. He has had to go off and on dialysis. He's on a ventilator. Mom and dad are woe out. This has been going on for quite some time. And there was a suggestion made by Jody and Lee that they went and they asked her, what do you need? How can we help? And they said, if you could just get us some cards, some gift cards to go have food delivered to the hospital, or to just have something when we got home. If you could do something like that, we would so appreciate that. So our collection today in Happy Bucks is for Corey and her husband and Hank. And so if you would give generously, we'd appreciate that. Charity.
Hey, who's happy? Yes, ma'am. Okay, she's just happy. Okay. I know we're Get my
So my hometown is Dawson Springs, Kentucky. Has everybody been keeping up with Dawson Springs in the news? They were one of the most hit cities in the December 10th tornadoes. So I've been spending a lot of time up there, and this isn't particularly happy to tell, but what I'm happy about is there's no way to express the kindness in the world than a tragedy to see it. I've been up there many, many days, and the generosity and the giving of people literally from all over the country is amazing to help these people who have lost everything. So I just wanted to say that it warms my heart a little bit that we're getting on with life and doing the work that we can to help those that we can.
My 29-year-old son is moving out of the basement into his own house today.
Happy.
I've got 20 happy bucks because after a hiatus of 2 years, a group of Rotarians from this district 6760 will be leaving on the 15th of February, flying down to Honduras, and we'll be there about 8 or 10 days, working on sanitation projects and electrification projects. This has been going on at the district level for something like 15 years, and Cass has picked up the keystone for this. He is not in the best of health, so I'm not sure if this is going to be the last trip or not, but we're going to go down there, and when we do, the local beer industry is very happy.
Cerveza. John.
Wanted to celebrate the fact that my little publishing company has the best-selling book in the country this week.
I just want to say that, speaking as the head of your foundation, the folks in Kentucky will be hearing from the club this week. So that's all I want to say.
Madam President, I didn't have $15, I only had a 20. $15 were representing each point of victory, each point of the amount of victory Georgia had over my Crimson Tide. So congratulations.
You're the man. I got to shake.
Dale, you want to say something? He put in $1. Hey, earlier in the year when Derrick Henry went down, I got up and I said, we're going to the Super Bowl. And I swear, tighten up. We're going to the Super Bowl, everybody.
Yeah.
Bengals are going down.
It's great to be back. Baby, what do you say? God, new baby in June. Robert Randall Reed. Calling Bo. My son thinks that Bo Reed sounds like a football star. Thank you.
I'm happy for the city of Brentwood because of our future leaders like Jim Colvin. I'm happy about this 5-course meal we've got today that Larry Kane
Yeah.
provided. I didn't know where to start, and tighten up.
I'm happy for Tish Tisherman's prayer. That was excellent.
That was.
I'm happy that you're riding off into the sunset, doing what you love to do, and go Titans.
Thank you.
You know, Rotary was started years ago as a place that we all come and we gather and network, and also it became a service organization. But sorry. Anyway, I just want to say I'm overseeing the building of In Slavery Tennessee's new, and I've been able to employ some Rotarians, and one that's doing some remodeling for us is Warren Bryant. And so it's been awesome to get to know Warren better and get to work. And Hebert Ball, although Skip is now retired, he's been doing the land development, or his old company has been. So it's always great to do work with other Rotarians. Another thing I want to say, I buried one of my good friends from Covenant, and I just a prayer of thanksgiving because I know where he is. He's in our life.
Y'all are very generous. Thank you so much. You know, we have a very special person in our lives and had her for many, many years. And I wanted to read you a short thank you note from her. Rotary Club, the handwritten part is different. This is the part that was already on the card. 'Tis the seasons for smiles and for wishing you everything that's happy, merry, and bright. Her part says, thank you for my beautiful poinsettia. It brightens my apartment for the holidays. The Rotary Club means so much to me. The club was so important to John's life. Wishing each of you a very Merry Christmas. And we're a little late on that, Virginia Stokes. So we love taking care of our Rotary. I consider her an honorary Rotarian, even though she's not exactly that yet, but she's the closest thing to it. So just wanted y'all to make sure that you heard that. Now, I heard I overdid this a little bit, so I will take this off, and it is a little hot in here to me, so I'll lose the hat. I'll lose the scarf. I'll lose the poncho.
She did say layer up.
Yeah, I was gonna say, and it is layering up, but I think I'll just go with this look, if that's all right for y'all with the bling instead. So, okay. Any announcements today before we get started? Patrick.
Harpeth, which is coming up 2 weeks from tomorrow, February 5th. Everything is still a go. Probably do the same thing we did last year, which is set up outside. I'm going to talk to the library and see if we can actually get in. But at least on their website, the meeting rooms that we typically use are not available, but we can get to the tables and chairs. Same old story. I need folks to help with sign in. Registration is always a little crazy. And then those of you who know the river, have led sections before, I'm always needing those folks. We're always kind of making game day calls when we get folks in there and assigning people to the different sections. But I have seen some good responses from the scouts, from the honor society, some environmental clubs. Obviously, we have a lot of young people who come and help us, but if you can make it that day, please put your name on the list. I'll keep you posted if anything changes. Obviously, the weather has been extremely wet. I hope we get a little break in this so we can get the river cleaned up and continue to make that mark on our community. It'll be the 17th time we've done this. And again, appreciate all your support.
Thank you so much. Dick Bowers.
So I have an announcement, but I really like the idea of going to Houston. Rotary International Committee. Rotary, the idea of sort of pressing the flesh and elbows and fist bumps with 15 to 20,000 of your fellow Rotarians from all around the world is a lot of fun. And when Lori got up to give her happy buck, I thought for sure she's going to say, I'm happy to be reminded about that bottle of good Vino Verde that we drank in Portugal together at the International Convention.
Larry Kane. It's golf time, y'all.
No golf. A kind of a double hit here. We're going to start doing RSVPs again this week. I'm sorry, but to make sure we don't have 15 lunches left over, like we do today, we're gonna take RSVP. So you'll be getting something from me. Please RSVP. And if you're bringing a guest, please tell us that also. Now, back to the 15 lunches that are left over. If anybody would like to take home dinner, please take those. Otherwise, they go to the fire department. But we've got, I think there's 15 over there. Please feel free to. Sorry? Give them to the police. Why would I give them to the police? The fire department would kill me if I took them to the police. So please take home a dinner.
Somehow I hear Brian in the background. Y'all already full from donuts. That doesn't matter, right? Just say. All right. Well, I have an opportunity then to introduce our guest this morning who came through the cold and the ice. And so thank you very much, and brought a guest. So how wonderful is that? Councilwoman Courtney Johnston is here and has been, she's not your typical politician that goes up there and says, I was elected. How cool is that? She actually works and spends a lot of time doing that. She lives in Nashville with her husband, Daniel, and her sweet Westie, Riley. She has a bachelor's degree in finance from LSU, thus the New Orleans moving up here. There's been a lot of reorganization specialists for Deutsche Bank. She was a partner with One Call Catering. She's been the owner of Ackling Cafe and Comprehensive Clinical Solutions, and is currently working with Synergy Realty. Is that correct? So she's got a lot to talk about, and I am going to introduce right now Courtney Johnston. Thank you.
Thank you all so much. Good afternoon. I'm not one to stand still behind a podium, so I've asked permission. And I'm not going to move around that much. You're like, you don't have to follow me that much. But thank you so much for having me here today. I really appreciate the opportunity to come speak to you. I learned early on not to assume what you want to hear from me, what questions you have. And so I did ask, and Jonathan helped me out. And I do have a few questions that came from this group. And then I was told LPRs is something that you would like to hear about. It's something I've been working on really, really hard for Davidson County. And so I'll start with why I ran. I'm really not interested in politics, to be honest with you. This really was coming from a place of public service. Our house was broken into in 2017, and it was quite a break-in. And because of that, I got way more involved in my community, and I started to see some deficiencies, and I knew that I could do a better job and that we deserved something better. And so I ran and won. Yay. So it's been quite the term. We started off, I was elected at the end of 2019. And of course, 2020 started with tornadoes and derechos and flooding and bombing. And it has been one thing after the other. So my prayer for 2022 is boredom, at least some aspect of it, so that we can move forward with the business of Nashville, where we need to move from point A to point B without having distractions. So that's a little bit about why I ran. It truly was to try to make a difference in my community, in my neighborhood, in my district, and in my city. So I'm just going to go through a couple of these questions. The top one is the property tax. Everyone knows that we've had quite the large property tax increase in the past 2 years. Do I foresee it happening again? I don't think there's a need for it. Number one, while we do have some revenue, not revenue issues, while we do have some spending issues, I think there's some areas where we can tighten up. It's not a property tax revenue issue. I also think it would be political suicide at this point to raise taxes again. So from that perspective, I wouldn't foresee that. I certainly wouldn't be in favor of one if that is what comes up in the next 2 budget cycles that we have. Will there be hot lanes on I-65? There actually are hot lanes on I-65. They're just not enforced. That's more of a state issue than a local issue. So that's really kind of all I can say, is that they are there. We just don't really enforce them. Let's see, Radnor Yard. Radnor Yard is not going anywhere. That was one of the funny things about when I was first elected. I was told, CSX, you're never going to get in touch with them. They will not. And I will tell you, I have a wonderful, wonderful contact there that has been so helpful to me. I always get in touch with her. She has been amazing at helping. And so I don't know where the disconnect was before with previous council members and even current council members that also have interactions with CSX or want to. But that will never be a transit hub. That is always going to be CSX for commerce. And so I know that it's loud. I know that, but CSX, those railroads have been there way longer than our houses have. And so I think it's just one of those things we have to learn to coexist. So that's the short answer of that. What's that? The CSX, well, Radnor Yard is sort of at the intersection of Harding and 65 there as it goes along Sidco. It's massive. I had the opportunity when my district flooded. I was up in an MNPD helicopter, which was really fun, by the way. It was sad that I was looking down on such devastation. But one of the things that I was able to finally see, I've flown into the city multiple times. For whatever reason, I just never noticed it. But hovering around at that low altitude, seeing how massive Radnor Yard was shocking. It really is unbelievable right there in the city, in the center of the city, basically. Do I ever interact with Brentwood city commissioners or city government? I never have. I've never necessarily had a reason to. I think there's an opportunity for that if there's, especially with, I have Brentwood in my district, and next term, assuming I'm reelected, I'll have even more of Brentwood that's in Davidson County. So there probably should be more interaction, but I personally have never had any interaction with a Brentwood alderman. Infrastructure with the latest increase in population, a growth tax like Williamson County. So that we're preempted to do that. The state many years ago carved out several counties that could not impose a growth tax. People call it different things. I actually looked into it because I think it's a good idea. We just can't do that without having the state law changed. So that one potato, two potato would have to happen. I did look into it. We've had many distractions. Probably need to go back to that. Developers are obviously not a big fan of that. But so we don't have that right now, and it's impossible for us to at the moment. And in fact, I drafted some legislation and I was told don't file it because it will immediately cause a preemption. So there's that. So let's go to LPRs, and then I'm going to open it up for questions so that you can ask whatever it is that you want to ask of me. So I started a little over a year ago introducing a bill that would allow LPRs, which is license plate readers, to be used in the right of way in Davidson County. In 2017, yes, there are two people I know here that that understand what LPRs are, and they understand the impact that they have in a good way. So I introduced that legislation. So 2017, the previous council actually banned it for whatever reason. And when I learned about how unbelievably helpful I've talked to so many different police departments around the country and different municipalities and leaders there that have said it is the #1 greatest tool that they have, period. Of all the tools that they have, LPRs are the greatest tool they have to help solve crimes. It helps deter crime as well. All it does is take a picture of your license plate. That's all that's in the database. There is no personal information in there. It doesn't say, white Honda Accord, Courtney, Johnston, 4901 Salem Drive, Nashville, Tennessee. It does not have any of that. It has the make and model of the car, where the location of the camera was, and the license plate number. I don't even know what my license plate number is. So if you were to even break into that database, you would have no idea what you were looking at. So we've had a long struggle with it. And that's something that I really have had a hard time understanding why. And one of the, I don't know if anyone, actually, I do know that someone from Brentwood Police Department was at the demonstration that I put on at Midtown Hills Precinct. And I think it was the Mount Juliet police officer that was asked, how did you get your community on board for LPRs? Because we're having a hard time communicating. There's a lot of misinformation out there about what they are, what they do, what they actually capture. And he said something that he said, it's about supporting your police department. It's about wanting them to have the tools that they need to help keep us safe, solve crimes, locate missing persons. When I started, we just had it on second reading this past Tuesday. It did pass second reading, thank God. So yes, little claps. We still have to go to third reading in 2 weeks, but it did pass. When I first started talking about it, when I introduced it onto the floor, there were two examples that I thought were really pertinent. We had a murder that happened here recently. It was a 60-year-old man, completely innocent, was shot and killed for absolutely no reason. Within 24 hours, the two people that are accused of that were caught using LPR technology in Cobb County, Georgia, within 24 hours. There was also a man that had dementia. He wandered away from his home. His family could not find him for hours and hours. It was finally reported to the police department at 8:15 p.m. Within an hour and a half, he was located using LPR technology and escorted safely home. That's the impact that it can have. It can bring people justice. It can bring people closure. It can bring people home. And it can it can deter crime as well. Typically, when you see a camera, people will avoid that area at least. So we have seen where they deploy this technology, the crime rate itself is reduced. Memphis has seen that. Dayton, Ohio saw a 42% reduction in overall violent and property crimes from the time they started using the technology versus before. 42%. Can you imagine? So when I first introduced the legislation, I knew that there was going to be some privacy issues. People were going to be concerned about surveillance, and I know that they don't trust the government. People don't trust the government for a reason. I think they've earned that, to be honest with you. The government as a whole has earned us not trusting them. So I understand that, and I wanted to sort of preempt that. And so I went to the ACLU. They had a policing policy paper as it relates to LPRs that I word for word used in drafting this legislation. They are the end all be all when it comes to civil liberties, right? I also gave it to, once I drafted it, I gave it to the local chapter of the ACLU and gave him carte blanche to say, how would you change this? How would you make this better in your eyes? And the changes that he made were granted. Since then, it has been amended multiple times. I would have to ask our attorney how many times it's been amended to further restrict it from data retention that began at 30 days is now down to 10 days. We've taken out the ways that it can be used. So it can't be used to validate driver's licenses or insurance. It's only felonies and violent crimes. So it's one of the most, if not the most restrictive policy that's been written in the entire country from what I'm hearing from other municipalities and police departments. And so my only goal is to make us safer. I think that's our most important responsibility and duty as a government is to keep our citizens safe. And I'm going to give whatever tool I possibly can within reason, with restrictions and with good, thoughtful policy to those departments that carry out our most important function. And that's what those two men back there do, is keep us safe. So I've been fighting really, really hard for it. I will not stop. I feel it's my duty, and I'm in a position to be able to make a difference. And I think if I don't care if I'm in government for 25 years, if this is what I can get done, this will be the most impactful thing that I can do for my community. So If anybody has any questions about LPRs or the policy itself, I'm happy to take those questions or anything else.
Oh, okay, yeah. Could you comment on how LPRs will impact or could impact human trafficking and Amber Alerts?
Amber Alerts, 100%. Typically, when there's an Amber Alert that goes out, they have a description of a vehicle. Usually, a lot of times they have a license plate. If you've got a license plate number and you are using LPR technology, you are going to find that vehicle. I can almost guarantee it. Same thing with human trafficking. If you have the information, if you have the description of the car, even if it's a description of the car and you know about what time something happened, you can go into the database and look for that white Honda Accord that could have been in that area during that time period. And at least you've narrowed down your scope, right? It's huge. It is just the most impactful tool that the police department can have.
So 2 points of information first from my question. Just if you didn't know, the mayor of Brentwood is sitting in this room.
I did know that.
And also a very senior representative from CSX is also in this room.
I saw her.
I just wanted to make sure because you said you know about meeting with
Yes.
Brentwood. So here's a great opportunity.
Yes.
And he's wearing a Predators outfit in
I
case you
saw
can't
that.
see.
I
who
saw
he-
that too. I
he-
saw
I
that
won't tell
too.
you his name, but he is here.
Yes.
So going off on sports, how do you feel? What's going on with the Titans Stadium and what's the city going to do about that? Or can you speak to that?
So I have not seen, I know they're trying to do a huge development over there. And I think it's a great opportunity to create family oriented type activities where on that side of the river, right? On the other side of the river is not as family oriented probably. And we have it. So we do have an opportunity there. I think it's going to be exciting to see what the plans are. The Super Bowl would be great. I think if you build it, they will come. I think Nashville has proven that time and time and time again. My concern is, are taxpayer dollars being used properly? Do we need to use taxpayer dollars in order to do this? Or do we have private industry pay for their own? Do we subsidize it in any way and how much so? So up until the past couple of years, honestly, the deals that have been made, in my opinion, have not been good. Now, historically, we haven't been the it city. So you have to do those types of incentives in order to bring people here. I think we're beyond that at this point. So our thought process needs to change. We're not the ugly duckling sitting, without a date anymore. And so let's be much more frugal about how we spend our taxpayer dollars and let them be more on infrastructure and public safety versus entertainment that I think that can pay for itself. Yes.
I have a question, but it's kind of for the mayor. What is I know we have LPR technology in Brentwood. What is our legislation and how is that?
Yes, we have LPRs deployed all throughout the city. We basically have a geofence around the city. We went through 2 phases of implementation, and we have budgeting dollars available for a phase 3. So we have it in our parks and pretty much at just about every ingress or egress into the city. We solve crime with it every day. The only legislation that has recently been passed about the LPRs is that they're not subject to open records, which makes it very nice for us, is that we're not getting bombarded with requests for data from LPR cameras. And the state, I think, just passed legislation to put it on the interstate, or to allow them to put LPRs on the interstate.
They did do it on the interstate. I think they're looking at state routes possibly this next legislative session, but I do want to give a shout out to Representative Powell. When one of the pushbacks that I got about privacy was that that data, because it's owned by the government, was subject to open records. So to preempt that, I called him and said, I need your help. He introduced the legislation. He got it passed. So that was a great example of municipal and state government working together to do the right thing. So I definitely want to give him a shout out for that help.
Yeah. there's an old saying about, where's the cop when you need them? Well, we can't be everywhere at all times. But when you have these fixed LPRs at strategic locations throughout your jurisdiction, I mean, you literally have eyes on things that we're not going to be seeing continuously 24/7. And so it makes us much more effective in fighting crime and solving crime. And it has been tremendously successful. We recover stolen cars out of Nashville all the time, literally just about every day. And it's just exactly like she has told y'all. It is one of the most, if not the most important pieces of technology and crime fighting that exists today, in my opinion.
It absolutely is a force multiplier. And that's one of the differences that we have with the opposition is that they only want them in the police vehicles. Well, if the police, I'm not saying it's not helpful in the police vehicles when you have an NCIC hit or things of that nature, but the force multiplier is when you have them in the fixed locations. Nashville and Davidson County, in my opinion, after talking to Chief Drake and several different people, I think we're about 400 officers short. It's not a money issue either. So it's not, well, y'all need to pay for more. We have positions that are in the budget. It's hard to recruit police officers. They do a really hard job, and it's a really thankless job. And especially this day and time, it's unbelievably thankless. So thank you for what you do. But it's not a money issue. We want to pay you more. It's not that. I'm not saying that. But having these fixed LPRs is a force multiplier. Absolutely.
We advocate for fixed locations because of exactly what she's saying. We used to have it on cars. Been years ago. We had it on one or two cars. It's not near as effective because you're only picking up tags where that officer is instead of having them in strategic locations. What people don't realize is there are third-party vendors in the private sector that are riding parking lots every day, capturing license plate tags. That information is shared with law enforcement, depending on the vendor that you go with LPRs. And so all of that data that they're collecting, whether it be in an apartment complex or what have you, is being shared with police. So even though, we don't have cameras per se in other states, even that information is being collected and shared with those who have LPR technology.
Chief, I got a question.
We have multiple HOAs in the city of Brentwood that have deployed LPRs. That is strictly an HOA decision. Depending on how you tap into your electricity, it depends on where you mount your cameras. So there may be an NES issue. There may be a right-of-way issue. Right now, Belle Reve is looking to deploy LPR cameras through their homeowners association, and they're asking the city for permission to put their poles in the right-of-way at the ingress and egress of their subdivision. And so those are the issues that HOAs have to be concerned about. But we work closely with HOAs in the city of Brentwood who have deployed, and there are multiple subdivisions that have them currently. And they share that data with them.
We have several. Do you have a question? I'm sorry. I don't want to cut you off. Okay. We have several neighborhoods actually in Nashville as well that utilize them. And I'll tell you about one because it gives me chills every time I think about it. In the North Nashville area, there's a neighborhood called Haynes Park. It is a predominantly Black and brown area that was being overrun with drug use, drug dealing, drive-by shootings. We had people that were living there that were afraid to sit on their front porches. They were afraid to sit in their front rooms because of bullets that were coming through. Certainly children playing in the front yard was not able to happen. And so this community that is not a rich community by any means, they went door to door. They had fish fries. They had fundraisers of all types and raised their own money to purchase their own LPR cameras because they saw that as the only thing that they could do because we can't have extra patrol. We don't have enough officers for extra patrol. She called me about 2 or 3 weeks ago and she said, I just want to let you know that we've had a full year of LPR use in our neighborhood. And since the day that we had installed those, we have not had one incident, where before it was almost daily. She said, when you walk in our neighborhood now, it feels different. It feels lighter. It feels safer. That's quality of life. That's safety. That's important. That's what LPRs do. I do want to reiterate how strict of a policy it is. There's access controls. There's only 10 people that have access to the database, according to my policy. There's oversight. There's reporting. It's almost to the point of too restrictive. We're right on that line of being so restrictive that it's not useful, because I'm trying to make sure that people feel comfortable and know that this is a well thought out policy, taking into consideration their concerns. But I'm pushing forward. We're at that line, and so I'm hopeful and prayerful that on February 1st that we will have at least 21 yes votes.
Kudos to you again. I do have a question on something other than OPRs.
Okay.
I can talk about that all day, but what's your position and what's the latest talk on Major League Baseball and NASCAR as it pertains to Davidson County?
So I'll start with NASCAR. So Bristol Motorsports has an MOU with the city now, which has been a long time coming. They have been working on that for years. I have to give a shout out to Mayor Cooper on that. He has worked really hard and pushed that needle forward. The racetrack is a charter protected use for the fairgrounds, and it was overwhelmingly by a referendum voted in favor of keeping that and preserving that. So we've had some issues with our fair board. We now have everyone there that there's no absences. There's no vacancies on that board as of, I think, 2 or 3 weeks ago. I think you're going to see some movement there in the next month. There's going to be a lot going on, and I am hopeful that that passes. It's a great deal for the racetrack. It's a great deal for fairgrounds, and it's a great deal for the taxpayers too, because Bristol Motorsports is really making a huge investment into our city and into our fairgrounds. It's a historic racetrack. It started off as a horse track. I mean, when you hear about the stories of it, it really is a magnificent piece of history of Nashville that I feel like we need to start holding on to as much of our soul as we can. There's all these buildings going up. Let's hold on to at least a little part of our history. So I'm hopeful that that will pass. As far as MLB, so I've had a lot of conversations with them, and that also is a significant investment that is not a burden to the taxpayer at all. But man, what benefit would that come? So there's been an issue of where are they going to build, right? And their first choice, honestly, is right next to the Titans Stadium. The Titans don't really like that. So I don't foresee that happening. Their second choice, they actually do have an MOU now with TSU. And I think it's a longer execution process, just because their thought process is riverboats to go back there and really sort of develop that area. I think it's great for TSU. I think it's great for that area, that community over there. So we'll see. They've put a lot of effort and a lot of investment just into the studies of it. And my thing is this: when I first had a meeting with him, I just said, I don't want our taxpayers paying for this. I don't want our taxpayers paying for this. If you want to come and play in Nashville, that's fine, but you are going to pay to play. And he said, I'm not even asking for a penny. I was like, great. So I think both of those things are definitely a really, really good possibility. And honestly, I'm supportive of both of those things, no matter where they are.
I had a two-part.
Living in Brentwood, how do we help you? Like specifically, what do you think the top thing we
That is a really tough question. I think understanding that whatever happens in Nashville and Davidson County does trickle out outside of our of the county lines. If something bad happens in Davidson County, it's gonna move out to where, so we are all in a community together. And so keeping up with what's going on, I think is number one. Being informed about what's going on, who's in your government, what those decisions that are, that they're making, I think is really important. Just keep yourself informed and keep yourself involved. I think if you find candidates that are aligned with what you think is a good vision for Nashville, Davidson County, Middle Tennessee, support them. And it doesn't necessarily have to cost you money. I get emails and phone calls thanking me. That's huge, to be honest with you. It's a thankless job. A lot of times, it's a lot of hard work. It's a lot of hours. It cuts into family time. I mean, it's all consuming if you really, really care about it. And sometimes those little words of encouragement are that little boost that you needed. So supporting those people that are really working hard, I think, goes a long way. Outside, I would have to really think about what you could do outside of that. I mean, money. I hate that, but it does take financial support in order to run campaigns and to be there. I don't like that, or I don't like being in that position. But that is helpful. So.
Courtney, I've got two examples of where we did work together. First of all, the median at Old Hickory Boulevard, that was done in conjunction with Metro Parks because that's actually Metro. So that median was very important. And we had trees planted there by the Brentwood business folks. But we all came together with NES, TDOT, and Parks and totally redid that median so that's beautiful again. And then the other thing is the city of Brentwood has worked with Metro to coordinate traffic signals across Franklin Road, right there at that one of the busiest intersections in all of Nashville. And Nashville actually changed their traffic signals to coordinate with ours so that we could make it flow very, very seamlessly. So that kind of thing, make sure the governments do talk together. That's why somebody was asking you, did you ever talk with the representative commissioners? That was really
Yeah. And my district right now, as it's drawn, does not touch the Williamson County line. And so that's a difference. So probably with Robert Swope, with Angie Henderson, those folks whose lines literally butt up against the county line, that they're the ones that are going to have more influence in that because that's literally their district. I don't have that. Next term, assuming I'm reelected, I will have that. So I would assume that I would.
It actually would have to take place.
Mhm.
We did talk, but more staff level. I mean, it was
Sure.
cooperation, but the staff was the ones that really picked up.
Sure. Sure. Yeah. And those state routes, TDOT gets involved and it's really fun when that happens. Yeah. Yes.
So I have more of a comment than a question.
Okay.
I'm busted for not reading Reflections. I've been in Mississippi all week and I kept looking at Courtney when I walked in thinking, I know her. How do I know her? So we have dealt with each other on issues related to Radnor Yard and the surrounding community quite a bit. Mostly we met in person once, I think, but mostly by phone and text. And then this is just a statement, I think, of the blatantly obvious after you just heard her speak. I mean, I deal with elected officials in multiple states and she ran for the right reason. She's not in it for, it's obvious that she's not, it was not a self-serving type decision. She is the type of person that, we all need to have in any kind of elected position. I mean, whether it's council, whether you decide to run for the state legislature, I mean, just it makes my heart happy to see somebody who takes it so seriously and learns both sides of the issue. And I'm for you. Whatever you run for, I'm for you.
Thanks. I appreciate that. Jane, oh man, she's helped. It's just, I couldn't believe, and I told her that. I was like, you're so accessible. Why is it that everybody said, oh, CSX, you'll never, whatever. I mean, anytime I've needed her, and it's been several times actually, and not just complaining about the noise and all that. I mean, we've gotten some things done. We got a capital project that's going to be happening on Hogan Road. That's huge. That helps with our flooding, but we needed CSX to say, yes, it's okay. You can do that. And she got those guys out there. I got Metro Water and some other people. It was amazing. So thank you for being who you are and so helpful in your job. You're awesome. It was also great for me to say, well, I've got to see a sex person. Oh, there you go. Nice. Any other questions? All right. Thank y'all so much for allowing me to come and share your afternoon with you. And thank you so much.
So Courtney, we have a book for you to sign eventually, and you get to keep the pen too. I'll get that for you after, so don't leave. But it's a book that we'll read to first graders, and when you sign it, when we go to read to them, we will tell them what you do and how you came to speak to us and how important it was that you came. So, okay, all right. Well, y'all, we made it through. TK, Lena, good to have y'all here. Remember, February 5th, Patrick will find you if you don't help. Please, please help with the Little Harpeth cleanup. It's going to be gorgeous weather. It's going to be really unusually high weather as far as the temperature is concerned. It's not going to rain. It's going to be fantastic. So let me give you something to leave here with. So speaking of beginnings, right? Nobody can go back and start a new beginning, but anyone can start today and make a new beginning. So leave and make a new beginning for the new year. If there's nothing else, Tom, BRCCF meeting after this, follow Tom in the art room. Okay. Any other announcements for the good of Rotary? If not, then we'll see you next week.